I'm Mike Quincy. And this is the video review of the 2027 Kia Telluride. When the Telluride burst upon the scene in 2020, it redefined the mid-size three-row SUV market. It simply blew away the competition with this combination of refined driving experience, simple controls, and vast cargo room. And what's in front of us now is the redesigned model, which actually gained about 350 pounds compared to the previous one. It rides at a 3-inch longer wheelbase, stretching 2.3 inches longer from bumper to bumper. It's also about an inch taller. Combined, these expanded dimensions promise more interior and cargo space, neither of which actually was much of a shortcoming before. We bought an all-wheel drive EX version, which comes well equipped. We only added special black jade green paint and a set of floor mats. With its $1,545 destination fee, the total came to $48,080. The final assembly point is West Point, Georgia. So styling-wise, the new Telluride looks really different than the last one. Some of us actually kind of like the big, bold look, except for this flat front end. It's basically saying, big green is coming through. But then you come back to these wheel arches, these big plastic things. It almost looks like a pull-out plastic hook. It doesn't actually do anything. It's kind of annoying, and it reminds me so much of the Subaru Outback. We're not quite sure why these things even exist. Another trend we're seeing is these large vertical headlights, and the same kind of vertical lights are also featured in the back. So we got to talk about these door handles, these flush door handles that are really popular. So as you saw, it popped out right as soon as I walked up. It's because I have the keys in my pocket. However, we're finding that they're sometimes a little bit slow to the party. They don't pop out right away. But anyway, it worked here because we have the magic of video. And once you actually use these door handles, it's super easy to get into the new Telluride. The seat is at a good height, easy to slide in, lots of headroom, so we would absolutely give this an A for access. So you'll also find that getting into the second row is also super easy. Love the wide opening doors, good seat height, and really generous footroom. So it does feel almost minivan-like in this second row. The cushion support is pretty good. Some of my colleagues here thought the cushions were a little bit firm. We like the adjustability for the seat back. You can recline it and get just the right position. There's nice fold down center armrest here with the built-in cup holders, but you've got these nice little map lights above you. And the ceiling, there's also vents. There is their own climate system for the second row seats. There's a bunch of power points here for people to charge up, and also a window shade here. That's pretty nice at this price point. You usually see that on the really high-end models. So there is a lot of features back here for second row passengers. Now, to actually get into the third row of the Telluride, there's this handy button on the top part of this second row seat back, and it slowly moves forward. Crawl back here. I think I can do it. And wow, success. I made it to the third row. So that's what it takes to get into the third row seat if you're approaching it from the driver's side. On the passenger side, it's a little bit easier. So same basic approach. You've got the handy button on top of the second row seat. Press it, and the whole thing moves forward pretty easily to allow you to get into this third row seat. And look at that, 2 for 2, I made it again. So sitting in the third row isn't bad if you're like tiny. There's not a lot of knee space behind the deployed second row seat. The seat cushion itself is pretty low to the floor, so there's not a lot of under leg support. I'm about 5'10". I have some headroom, but anyone taller back here will be pretty limited. I mean, obviously, this is a place mostly for small kids. A lot of the testers felt that these seats were a touch on the firm side. The bolstering isn't bad. There's okay bolsters for the cushion, okay bolsters for the seat back, but some folks felt they were kind of sliding around in here. They're not bad seats, but you definitely want to check them out for yourself. We were impressed that our tested EX trimline comes with 4-way lumbar, and that is a luxury feature that you don't always find at this price point. However, some testers were really put off by this headrest. A lot of folks felt that it's just positioned too far forward. And unlike some vehicles where you can adjust the angle of the headrest, either coming forward or coming back, this one only adjusts up and down. So that also is kind of an issue when it comes to seat comfort. As far as the fit and finish goes, the Telluride comes through pretty well. Quite often we find that like a black on black interior, everything gets lost in the design, but there's enough variation here to make things interesting. There's exposed stitching. It's a semi-soft dash top. We're not quite sure what's going on with this weird plastic pattern here on the top of the dash. I will say that they use this gray material on the mid-dash and the center console area. It almost looks like particle board. I know it's not particle board, but at least they kind of break up the color a little bit. Some of my colleagues have commented that it's still kind of plasticky. There's still some hollow features here. The door panels in particular are kind of dull. It's mostly just hard plastic, not really soft to the touch. There's a nice wrap on the steering wheel with exposed stitching. There's some padding on the center console here, not a lot, but overall, I think this is a pretty nice effort from Kia in terms of jazzing up the fit and finish. So day-to-day livability with the Telluride is pretty fantastic. We really like the dual charging pads right here on the center console. We also always like to see that all of the open bins come with rubber liners. That's nice. We like the dual opening center console storage area here. It's pretty deep. But on the other hand, the door pockets are ridiculously small for such a big SUV. And the Telluride also comes with one of these bins underneath the center console. They're sort of handy, I guess, but you can't really see down there. It's like a dark black hole. I imagine you put some stuff down there, you'd even forget that it's there. So it's nice to have that storage option, but it's really hard to get to. Standard equipment in the new Telluride includes a 12.3-inch infotainment system. This is a pretty easy system to use. Wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are standard. Really didn't have many issues with it. The menu structure is pretty simple and straightforward. And thankfully, our phone's repaired every time that we restarted the vehicle. So again, kind of typical Hyundai and Kia, pretty good, easy to use infotainment. So let's talk about the controls. We like how simple the steering wheel controls and all the Kia and Hyundai products. It's very straightforward. Same thing with the steering wheel stalks. However, none of us are happy that the ignition button is placed way down here. It's ergonomically really awkward to get to. Suppose if you drive the car every day, you'll just know to reach down, probably use your thumb to turn the engine on. And this also has the gear selector on this same little stalk here. It takes some getting used to, but to us, it's overly complicated. Now, let's move on to the climate controls. And this is definitely a mixed bag. We're real happy to see some physical climate buttons right here on the center stack. It's real easy to adjust the temperature, the fan speed, the direction of the airflow. It's a dual zone, so passengers get their own adjustments. But for some reason, Kia decided to put another climate menu right here in the center screen. The thing is, it's mostly blocked by the steering wheel. If you put your hands at the typical 9 and 3 positions, you definitely can't really see it that well. So it's really super annoying. We don't know why they did it this way. And sticking with the climate buttons, Kia took a page out of the Mercedes-Benz playbook. They put the seat heaters and coolers on the door panel here, along with the steering wheel heater. Now, you drive this car every day, you'll get used to the fact that they are on the door panel. However, it's very far removed from the rest of the climate buttons. A lot of times when you think about climate, the seat heaters and the steering wheel heaters are all grouped together. So you just have to remember that they're over here. One of the virtues of the new Telluride is simply a ton of storage space. As you can see behind the third row seat, there's lots of place to put luggage and whatnot here. There's also a little bit of underfloor storage to put things, hide them away. But if you want to maximize the storage capacity of the Telluride and make it feel more like a minivan, all you need to do is pull these straps, fold the third row seat, And then our EX model comes with switches on the sidewall here to fold the second row seats. You come around here and all you need to do is physically push it right down. But this makes a super flat storage space. Maybe also do a little car camping. While you're at it, I'm tired. The Telluride comes with a temporary spare tire mounted underneath the vehicle. It's super clean down here. Must be a new car.
That's fine.
It's a temporary spare tire. What are you going to say?
I don't know.
So now that we get to actually do some driving, let's talk about the driving position. And this Telluride is actually pretty good for the most part. I have plenty of headroom for my 5'10" height, and it's pretty easy to reach most of the controls. A lot of here at Consumer Reports Auto Test Track, though, would prefer a kind of a regular round steering wheel. This is slightly squared off. We wouldn't call it a full squircle like you see in the squared off steering wheels in the Ford Expedition and Jeep Wagoneer, but it's okay, but it's not 100% awesome. And as I mentioned before with the controls, where you're putting your hands on the steering wheel, you're blocking a lot of the climate features. So at least, though, there's not much center console intrusion at all for the driver's right leg. So we're real happy to see that. Now, when it comes to seeing out of the Telluride, the driver gets a pretty good view of the hood. It's pretty easy to see where it ends. So that's positive. The side windows are also pretty large. The issue we're having, though, is with the A-pillars, which are pretty thick at the base. So when you're trying to look around to see around a corner, those will certainly get in the way. And as we see with a lot of SUVs these days, the rear roof pillars are pretty thick. And for the Telluride, the rear window is actually somewhat small. So there are a few visibility issues. So at the heart of the Telluride is naturally the powertrain. And in this version, Kia is going with a turbocharged 4-cylinder. Now the good news is that a hybrid version is also going to be offered. The hybrid version will feature a 2.5-liter turbo 4-cylinder with electric drive and a 6-speed automatic with a total system output of 329 horsepower. So it's pretty good response from this turbo 4-cylinder, and the transmission shifts pretty crisply. There's plenty of power on hand whenever you need to merge or do any kind of a passing maneuver. The problem is that this engine sounds super gritty, like a lousy 4-cylinder diesel engine, but you're not getting the diesel fuel economy. The EPA says the all-wheel drive Telluride should return 20 miles per gallon overall, which isn't awesome. On the other hand, the EPA also says that the front-wheel drive hybrid version should get 35 miles per gallon, which is impressive. We're not too jazzed that the new model comes with this unpolished 4-cylinder engine and the fact that it doesn't get great gas mileage. That seems like a really bad combination. Kia offers an X-Pro version, which pumps up the ground clearance over the regular model. It also comes with chunky all-terrain tires, an electronic limited slip differential, as well as a funky exterior camera that lets the driver see what's actually underneath the SUV as you're going over it. Properly equipped, the Telluride can tow up to 5,000 pounds. So when it comes to noise levels inside the new Telluride, there's that grumbly 4-cylinder noise that you can probably hear right now. Wind noise, on the other hand, will pick up a little bit on the highway. Otherwise, it's pretty calm. There's also not a ton of road noise in this SUV. Now, if Kia could just do something about the noisy 4-cylinder, this would be a pretty quiet truck. As far as the ride goes, bump absorption is actually pretty good. In fact, this Telluride has a better feel, a softer ride than the last model. And a lot of us really kind of prefer it. However, body control is a little looser than we usually like to see. It's not often you talk about an SUV of this size having any kind of agile handling. And with the Telluride, it's still the case. It is 250 pounds lighter than the Palisade that we tested, but it doesn't feel quite agile at all. When you push the Telluride hard into a corner, body roll sets in pretty hard, and it doesn't feel responsive at all. It doesn't handle badly, but the Palisade definitely feels sharper, and this Telluride does not feel as crisp as the previous model. But keep in mind that this new Telluride is 350 pounds heavier than the last one. All Telluride trims come with a full complement of standard active safety and driver assistance systems. When the Telluride came out for the 2020 model year, it really schooled all of the other mid-sized 3-row SUVs. While the new model rides well, a lot of us here at Consumer Reports Test Track missed that V6 engine. Forgive me, but I keep coming back to this powertrain. The EPA numbers don't look very good, and the engine itself sounds and feels miserable. We're hopeful that the upcoming hybrid model will tame some of this engine noise. For more on 3-row SUVs, check out consumerreports.org.